I think at the end of the day, there are literally 150 ways to make money in real estate investing, and they all work. That's the truth. They all work if you do it long enough and you get around the right folks, and you just keep going. You're going to find a way to become good at that one thing. And so there's no right or wrong. However, I will say this, and this is really important for anyone out there to realize. When you are deciding which avenue you want to go down, the avenues that have the higher barrier to entry, those avenues, they're more challenging to get into a deal. It requires maybe more legal, more regulatory stuff, more bureaucracy, more capital, harder to find a deal, all that stuff. Those deals that have the higher barrier to entry have the biggest opportunity at the end. They have the highest reward. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Report Saturday edition. And I got my co-host, Miss Alex Johnson. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How's it going?
It's going really good. We got Thanksgiving in 2 days. We have our Friendsgiving tonight. And there's a lot to be thankful for this year. It's been a fun year. How's everything going with you?
It's good. Yeah. I was just thinking, like, it doesn't really feel like Thanksgiving to me yet. I think it just kind of came up quickly. But I think after tonight, after the Friendsgiving, after eating all the Thanksgiving food, I'll be ready. So I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to play a little golf this weekend, first time in a little bit at Torrey Pines Golf Course. First time there. And let me tell you, I know you've played there before. But
yes.
Wow. Like,
so nice, right?
Why would anyone not play there like all the time?
Yeah, especially with the resident card. I mean, you get a really good deal, and the views are just insane. It was a beautiful day, I think, when you played there, right?
Yeah, we played the south side, and literally like every hole is like looking down on the water.
Yeah.
It was 72 degrees and sunny, middle of November. You can't beat it. But I was just thinking, wow, I'm not going to play anywhere else ever.
Spoiled.
Yeah. But they were growing out the rough because they're getting ready for the Farmers Open in January.
Oh, that's right. It's coming up.
And so the rough, like if you weren't in the fairway, it was very hard to find your ball.
Yeah.
I think I probably lost like 17 balls. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Every now and then I'll hit one good and I'll be like, okay, that's my potential. And it makes me feel good. But yeah, I think I lost 17 balls.
It keeps you coming back. That's what happens.
It was a great time though. Had some good company. Shout out to Matt and Craig, who will be here tonight. But I love them.
So you'll actually be traveling, I think, this week and after Thanksgiving, right out to Miami.
Yeah. So my parents, my family all lives in San Clemente, about an hour north from here. So going to go up there on Thanksgiving. We do it at my sister's every year. We have a group of like 30, 35 folks come out. It's my family, a couple other families that are like friends of ours. And we just watch football and have a good time. But yes, Friday morning early, going to be flying out to Miami. I'm super excited for this. Going to host a real estate meetup Friday night in South Beach with investor girl Britt. Super excited for that. And then we're going to be recording a podcast this weekend with Britt. So you guys will get to hear that episode. So if any of you guys are this is going to air after Friday, unfortunately. But that said, you guys will get to listen to the episode, which is exciting as well. And just excited to connect with her. This is actually my first time I'm going to be meeting her in person.
I'm excited for that too. I follow her on social media. I think she's great. So I'm excited to listen.
But anyways, yes, excited for Thanksgiving. We hope all the listeners are out there having a wonderful and safe holiday weekend with family. But anyways, for today's topic, everyone's been sending me this post this week. And I actually just put something out on my Instagram this morning, kind of putting my spin on this post. So I thought, you know what? There's a big buzz around it. Let's go deep on this post and let's put our spin on it. So there's a gentleman by the name of Richard Garcia Official on Instagram. He puts out some real estate content, and he put out a post about 5 days ago that says social media will be like, and he lists about 15 real estate influencers. Grant Cardone, Brian Pineda, Chris Crone, Robert Kiyosaki, all these folks out there. And he basically says, you know, everyone's got a different opinion in terms of personal strategy and what works best and how you should approach your personal strategy. So he says, Grant Cardone says, don't buy a house. Chris Crone says, buy a house. Brian Pineda says, wholesale a house. Thatch Nagayan says, use an FHA loan. Chris Crone says, don't use an FHA loan. Robert Kiyosaki says, house is a liability. Thatch says house is an asset. Grant Cardone says start with 32 units. Other people say start with 2 units. Some people say invest in Airbnb. Some people say don't invest in Airbnb. Some people say invest in multifamily. Some people say don't. Some people say don't buy silver. Robert Kiyosaki says buy silver. And the last one is Dave Ramsey says, buy with 100% cash. Grant Cardone says, always use debt. What's right? What's wrong? And basically his caption says, this is why it's impossible to trust anyone these days. So big buzz around this. It got a lot of engagement. It went viral. And so, here's the thing. Well, first of all, I want to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts, Johns?
So I think it's a good post in that it's getting like a lot of people talking, responding, thinking. I think the caption and his approach to it is like a little bit negative, to be honest. I don't think that's the best way to look at it. It's not really like you can't trust anyone. It's more of like what works for you. And like, it's not a one size fits all. It's real estate. I mean, there's many, many, many different ways to succeed and to make money. And so I don't like the approach of like, don't listen to anyone. It's more of like, I think it should be like, decide on who you want to really follow and what works for you. Like, that's not going to look the same for everyone, depending on where you're at or depending on where you want to go. And I think I was reading some of the responses to it, and I like one of the responses that Pace Morby said. It's like, it's like a Jeep and a minivan are two different vehicles. Like they're both good vehicles. They're both for different things. So that's like in real estate, I feel like there's a lot of different ways to do different things. It doesn't necessarily make one wrong and one right. You kind of just decide, you have to decide the path you want to take and your risk tolerance and a lot of other factors. So I think that the caption and his spin on it is like honestly a little bit negative. I would choose to look at it from a different, more positive approach, but I think it's a good post. It's getting people talking and thinking. So I think that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it definitely gets clicks with that caption.
True.
But that said, so Grant Cardone commented, shout out to Grant. He was on this podcast, episode 51. Grant said, if you study everyone, you won't do one thing. And I agree with that. There's 150 ways to do it in real estate investing, and you got to pick one and become good at that one before you go and try 50 different things. Pace Morby said, everyone's audience is different. Everyone has a different risk tolerance. He alluded to Dave Ramsey. A lot of those folks have a very low risk tolerance. They want to play it safe. They don't want to take on any debt. And then he said, like, people like Grant's audience might be more willing to take on debt and have a higher risk tolerance. My 2 cents for what it's worth. I think at the end of the day, there are literally 150 ways to make money in real estate investing, and they all work. That's the truth. They all work if you do it long enough and you get around the right folks, and you just keep going. You're going to find a way to become good at that one thing. And so there's no right or wrong. However, I will say this, and this is really important for anyone out there to realize. When you are deciding which avenue you want to go down, the avenues that have the higher barrier to entry, those avenues, they're more challenging to get into a deal. It requires maybe more legal, more regulatory stuff, more bureaucracy, more capital, harder to find a deal, longer, maybe harder to get lending, all that stuff. Those deals that are harder to, that have the higher barrier to entry, have the biggest opportunity at the end. They have the highest reward, right? And they also have the lowest amount of competition. On the flip side, those avenues within real estate investing that have the low barrier to entry, such as Airbnb arbitrage, where it doesn't really require any money, or wholesaling, where it literally requires zero money, those types of things have a lot of competition. Everyone's doing it. They tend to be oversaturated, and the reward at the end, typically, generally speaking, is going to be much lower than the stuff out there that has the higher barrier to entry. So that's something to keep in mind. 2 plays that no one mentioned in this post that I talk about all the time on this podcast. One, developing ADUs. I think it's such a huge play. And number 2, buying boutique hotels from, retiring baby boomers. I really think that those are 2 avenues that we love. Not a lot of people are talking about them. But for us in 2024, I think that's 2 avenues that we really like. Let us know, what you guys think of this episode. Let us know, on YouTube, social media, shoot us a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys, the listeners. Let us know which avenues you guys think are your favorites in terms of real estate investing strategies for 2024. Anything else to conclude here, Alex?
No, I think you said it perfectly. I mean, it's, high risk, high reward, and you just have to figure out who you want to listen to. Like you said, the same listeners are probably not listening to Grant Cardone that are, listening to Dave Ramsey. So there's a lot of different ways to make money in real estate, and just have to figure out what's best for you.
Mm-hmm. Grant Cardone said on I've had him on twice. One was on this podcast, and then one was on my old podcast. Yeah. This is like 3.5 years ago. And what he said on the podcast 3.5 years ago is he said, the harder it is to buy, the easier it is to sell.
True.
The easier it is to buy, the harder it is to sell. And that couldn't be more true.
Yeah.
Anything in life, really. Like the harder it is to do, the bigger the reward.
Yep.
The easier it is to do, the lower the reward. And so that's something to keep in mind for real estate investing when you guys are out there. So anyways, with that, I think that concludes this episode of the Saturday edition. Hope you guys are all enjoying your Thanksgiving weekend. She's Alex Johnson. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.